All right, Steelers Nation, here we are after week 6. I'm going to recap the Raiders game, offensively, defensively, special teams, and then I'll cap it off overall. As far as the offense goes, Justin Fields, 14 to 24 for 145. Not a great game passing, but he did have some phenomenal passes. Not a lot of passes that quarterbacks can make, and then he also had some bad throws. It's the playbook seems to be opening up. They seem to be getting more plays for him. So as opposed to earlier in the season where it was just kind of the same looks here and there, there seems to be more routes that the offense is running. So I like that fact. I don't think I hear a lot of talk out there that the Steelers aren't winning because of Justin Fields. They're just winning with him, which is better than winning in spite of him, which is kind of what we did last year with a lot of our quarterback play. But I think a lot of the offense is because of him. Passing, yes, he either has good throws or bad throws. There's no in between. But his legs keep him upright. He can scramble. I think we have to stick with him. I think with the way our offensive line is currently constructed, with pretty much 4 to 5 starters being lost right now, we'll see what happens with Zach Frazier. But the pass blocking isn't there. This isn't a pass blocking team where you can drop back and look through your reads. You got 1.5, 2 seconds to get the ball out, or you got to start moving. And I don't think flipping to Russell Wilson is going to be able to do that. Russell holds onto the ball too long. His career has been like that. He's always held onto the ball looking for the best available opportunity, and he's not as mobile as he was, and he's definitely not as mobile as Justin Fields. So until you get healthy on that offensive line and you get repetition with the guys you have, last week was the first time we had 2 consecutive weeks of starters on the offensive line. And like I said, Frazier went down this game, so we'll see what happens next week. I think you stick with Justin Fields because he can get you. You got 11 carries for 59 yards, 2 touchdowns. Impressive running the ball. The passing, it comes and goes, and Justin Fields' whole career has been that way. But I like a lot what he's doing here in Pittsburgh as opposed to what he did in Chicago. As far as Najee on the ground, hell of a game for him. 36-yard touchdown, 106 for the game, 7.6-yard average. This is the Alabama Najee that we drafted. Sad that it took him 4 years to get here, but he's here. Other running backs really didn't do anything. I mean, Jaylen Warren just came off an injury, so I didn't expect much out of him. As far as the passing game goes, when you only have 145 yards total, there's not a lot to go around, but Pickens, Freiermuth, Harris, and Austin each had multiple catches along with Jaylen Warren. Everybody did well as far as the balls that were thrown their way. Pickens had a few that were kind of questionable, but Pickens is a come or go type of guy, up and down. Offensively, I'd give us maybe a C plus for this game. We did enough to win against a bad Raiders team. And that's pretty much all Tomlin asks of this team, is to do enough to win. So I hope he doesn't switch to Russell just yet. I hope we stick with Justin and let that confidence build, because maybe Justin's a long-term answer. Russ isn't. Russ maybe has a year, 2 years left. Justin has 5, 6 if he's coached properly that he can do well with. Defensively, what can you say about T.J. Watt? He deserved to be Defensive Player of the Year. Didn't have any sacks this game, but he did force 2 fumbles, 2 huge fumbles. One at the 1-yard line that wouldn't necessarily have gotten the Raiders back in the game, but it would have given them a little bit of momentum towards the end of the game. Patrick Queen finally looks like the guy we paid for. You can see his range. He's all over the field. Peyton Wilson, I'm sorry, he's a good-looking rookie on the interior there, and Landon Roberts. I think we might finally have this middle linebacker position figured out. Those guys look really well. Defensive line, Cam Hayward, all the talk over the offseason of what this injury is going to do to him, if we should pay him, he has quieted those. Huge game. He had the only sack of the game for us, and a tackle for loss as well. And then in the rest of the front there, Keanu Benton had a quiet game, 2 tackles, 1 solo, but had big impact, shutting down the run. And then we had, what was it? Well, the 3 turnovers. We had the 2 forced fumbles, and then who had the interception? I think it was Elliott. One of the new acquisitions had the interception. Oh, Dante Jackson wasn't Elliott, had another interception. So defensively, I mean, we gave up, a lot of yards like we always do, but we are an opportunistic defense that we'll shut you down when we need to shut you down. And a lot of those yards came because they needed them. I mean, Aiden O'Connell, 27 to 40 for 227, isn't very impressive. But when all you're doing is throwing, since we did shut the run down considerably after that first opening drive, looked pretty well. And then as far as special teams go, another huge block out of the punt team set us up close to the goal line. Didn't really do much with that. We'll talk about that later. And then we had 2 kick returns. Fitzpatrick was on that onside kick, and then Warren had a 26-yarder. I'd like to see Patterson get back and really get healthy and see what he can do with these new dynamic rules. But I don't see much out of Jaylen Warren or the guy that was back there last week. I can't even remember his name. Samplaska or something like that. Samplekin. Kicking, you get Chris Boswell, amazing again, 4-4, 52 yards. They get a 41-yarder, and the rest were like around 30, but still 4-4. You can't go wrong with that. 2 or 2 on extra points as well. And then Corliss Waitman, 3 punts, 2 pinning them back inside the 20. You can't go wrong with that either. And then as far as punt returns, no punt returns. So there is that. Overall thoughts, just kind of recapping everything I've gone over. Another slow start for this team. Offensively, we did drive down. Got to the, I want to say, 40-ish. I know that was when I think he had a 41-yard field goal or whatever in the opening drive. We can't be stalling out like that. We got to get into the end zone. And I think a lot of Justin Fields' decision-making is questionable, but you can't turn away from him with his legs. The way this offensive line is pass blocking, you could see the one video of Broderick Jones just kind of standing there lost. They can clearly run block. We clearly got to keep running. Jaylen Warren, back this week, healthy. Was a rough week for him. Looked kind of ugly, but I think more repetition that he gets, the better off we're going to be running the ball. He's a great pass blocker back there. 3rd and long, definitely have him in there. But Najee, just like I said, this was the running back we drafted 4 years ago. Came out of Alabama. Big plays, wasn't giving up. Hit holes when he needed to hit holes. 106 yards on the game. First 100-yard game of the year. Pretty impressive. Defensively, a lot of people are complaining about the high-paid defense giving up, a lot of yards to Dallas last week and a lot of yards to a horrible Raiders team this week that didn't have their number 1, number 2 passing options. But you go back through Tomlin's history, it's always been an opportunistic defense. It's never been a shutdown, lockdown, keep you under 100 yards, keep you under 200 yards. I mean, they have games like that. But their big thing is opportunities, getting that key sack in key moments, getting that key turnover when you need it. They know when to step up and when to get the ball. You can't expect this to be the 2010 Steelers or the 2007 or 8 Steelers or whatever won the Super Bowls with just pure dominating defense. They're going to give up yards, but they're going to make that play when you need them to make that play. And then kicking game, I mean, Danny Smith, man, dude's been around 12 years and still has coordinated a hell of a game. He's key to Boswell's resurgence. He had that rough year 2 or 3 years back, came back, punting game. He dealt with Presley Harvin for 3 or 4 years and made him look respectable. And now Corliss Waitman is a damn good punter, and kind of sucks to have 2 punters like that. Johnston, when he's healthy next year, I don't know what they're going to do. But they didn't pay him that much, so they might stick with whoever they got. I'd like to see more of the return game. Like I've said, Calvin Austin in the punt game has shown that he's good returning the punts. Dynamic punt rules dynamic kickoff rules seem like they're ideal for Corliss Cordell Patterson, but he's obviously injured. So we'll see what comes next week. We'll see what Mike Tomlin says in his press conference today, but fingers crossed that Justin starts against the Jets and that we keep rolling.